Draw Muhammad Day 2 is upon us, and I'm inclined to use this opportunity to express my views on drawing Muhammad and burning Qurans. The Draw Muhammad Day of 2010 made a little more sense to me, and the Have You Seen This Man campaign made a lot of sense to me. If the point is to illustrate why it's foolish to be offended by a two-dimensional depiction of a man who died centuries ago, I'm in agreement. The best video I've seen which makes that point is about 3.5 minutes long, and it is linked below. But if the point is to solve the problem of someone being offended by something you don't feel warrants offense by doing that very thing on a massive scale, then I deeply disagree. It's justifiable to draw Muhammad if it's to show Muslims who attacked a cartoonist for it that their efforts of retaliatory censorship have ironically not deterred free speech, but rather given more people a reason to exercise it in that very manner. However, if the intention is to offend people until they change their mind or get a sense of humor, as I've heard suggested, I consider the proposal a failure at its very premise. In my experience, the success rate of deliberately and repeatedly offending people based on their core beliefs, hoping they'll start laughing about it or agreeing with you, is incredibly slim. While I agree that it's wrong to attack people over their artwork, I find it a much wiser approach to explain why the words of Holy Scripture do not vindicate hateful and violent retaliation. All of these same principles apply to the concept of burning a Quran. I consider that book nothing more than pressed ink on bound paper. It would be no different in my eyes than burning a cookbook or a car owner's manual, if not for the millions of people that are worked into a bloodlust over its inferno. Again, I find it more productive of an avenue to explain to those people the futility of being enraged by the destruction of a symbol which has no bearing on the status of what it actually represents. It is productive to question why an all-powerful deity would require that his own creation be slaughtered over burnings of a mere symbol that represent his words and nothing more. It does far more to have these conversations and ask these questions than it ever would to commit inflammatory actions in a vain effort to extinguish flames of violence. There are those who claim that most or many Muslims suffer from such a combination of ignorant conditioning and vitriolic attitude that they cannot possibly be reasoned with, that at some point the only response they will acknowledge will be that which offends them. I cannot support this unsubstantiated claim. I cannot believe that such a significant quantity of people as the Muslim majority is beyond the reach of civility and education, even if they aren't immediately receptive of them. I understand the impatience and frustrations of trying to reason with an unreasonable populace, but it is the responsibility of we who fancy ourselves as takers of a more intelligent and sophisticated position to behave accordingly. I'd like to suggest that calling Draw Muhammad videos and Quran burnings a mere exercise of free speech is a gross exaggeration. Such acts at this time serve no purpose beyond attempting to enrage people and obviously inciting violence. Calling people a wealth of deeply offensive names that would incite a violent reaction from them is technically free speech as well, but that alone is a pathetic excuse to smother people with those slurs just to show them that you can, in some desperate hope that doing so will change their minds. I am by no means attempting to shift the ultimate responsibility of violent acts from those who commit them to those who inspire them, but there is still insufficient reason to inspire them when more civil and effective means for achieving the same allegedly peaceful end exist. I certainly agree that you have the right to burn inanimate symbols which you have legal ownership of on your own property. It's even your right to post footage of it on the internet, in my opinion. But I would ask that you be responsible enough to grasp the weight of that act enough to consider it doing something exclusively because you're capable of it is sufficient reason when doing so risks a result of driving a wedge even deeper between you and those you disagree with. As far as I'm concerned, Americans can burn Qurans all day long and it won't make Allah any more or less powerful. And Muslims can burn American flags all day long and it won't make America any more or less powerful. But it won't be until some of those people shut their books of matches and open their minds enough to listen to each other that we'll find where the real power for change lies.